just I would try to show you, and I couldn't take them here. They already gone and they don't tell me anything. And that, for that, I was amazed, very upset too this weekend, because I could show them, they put me to work, and they took off and they told me nothing. I mean.
All right, let's rock and roll if you guys are ready, because it's 10 o'clock and I respect your time and you're here. I know. Teach me something, teach me something. So here we go. So I'm doing a little bit of a switcheroony on you, not too much, but a little bit. You probably saw that this class was advertised as Pricing Boot Camp, correct? All right, well, you have an opportunity to leave without hurting my feelings. I'm doing the pricing component within the context of the listing conversion class. There is a separate class and a separate manual on pricing, but in reviewing it, I really felt like it goes into far too much detail than what I would ever use in a listing conversation, and the listing conversion class does a really nice job, I think, of presenting the pricing component. So I taught this class here about 3 months ago, but I want to teach it again because it includes pricing, and also because I think it's probably the most important momentum series class that we teach. And let me share with you a new reason why I think that is the case. Big agents, I mean big time agents, doing 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 million a year, are really, they have taken themselves out of the lead generation business. They are primarily lead converters. If you look at the #1 RE/MAX agent in the world, who would that be, by the way? Somebody in our family of companies. Frankgray. Yeah, you are a prophet, young man. It would be Mike Cedar. Mike Cedar is not getting on the phone calling expireds and FSBOs and GeoFarm and past clients and customers. I can guarantee you that. What is he doing? He's going on 4 to 5 listing appointments a day. That's what he's doing. He's putting his emphasis on lead conversion as opposed to lead generation. Now, let me support that with you for just a moment. I just came back from my mastermind group, which was 2 weekends ago, and got turned on to a couple books, which I ordered while I was still there. They have been arriving this week, and I have just started going through them. And let me share with you this one that I've only a few pages in. It's called Predictable Revenue. In fact, I've put the titles to all these books on the flip chart here. This book, although it is 197 pages long, has one critical message. If you want to take your business big, fast, then outsource your lead generation. That is a message that we could have come to by studying top producers in our own industry. The author of this book actually was the guy who took Salesforce.com from 0 to 100 million in sales in 3 years. And he kind of walks through that process. Another book, which my partners talked about, and I just received, is called The 10X Rule. Are you guys familiar with this one? I referred to it last week when I shared the results of the Accelerate Mastermind Retreat. I didn't have it in hand then, but I do now. Grant Cardone's message is, if you want to accelerate your success, then set massive goals and take massive action. Whatever your goal was for the year, if you want to make 80,000, multiply it by 10. Let's make it 800,000. And then let's put together a plan that will generate $800,000. And if we fall 50% short, we still end up with 400. Now, that's fun to fantasize about that, isn't it? What's the problem with that? Where's the breakdown in that? Why can't you practically implement that? The primary challenge for most agents would be they don't have the time. How can you do 10 times as much work as you're doing now? I mean, that would do it, right?
Hire an assistant, get a buyer's agent.
Yeah, you're on track here. You have to leverage yourself through the time and talents of other people if you're going to do a 10 times approach to your business. So where are you going to plug those people in? at least in the early stages of going big in your career, it's not going to be the conversion aspect of the leads. That is the highest skill level required. That's you. That's why Mike Cedar goes on his own listing appointments, right? Nobody does it better than him. So what's being outsourced? What can you do? What aspect of your operational model can you outsource? The lead generation. That's what you can do. So that's where you can really plug in the 10 times and get the predictable revenue, massive predictable revenue. And I'll tell you, I am taking these things to heart. I think I shared with you last week that I came back and changed my business plan for the year based upon what I learned at the Accelerate Retreat. And I am putting the pieces of that puzzle together. But it is going to involve leveraging lead generation and putting a focus on my skills on lead conversion. Yes, Pat?
Well, I don't want to be devil's advocate, but the ones that I've seen that delegate authority, they have somebody in advertising that works for them. They
Yes.
have somebody calling for backup. They have, everything is delegated.
Yes.
And so that means, you have to spend some heavy money to have that kind of support.
Perhaps. Yeah, so Pat's objection is if you put somebody in all of these roles, who has that kind of money?
Yeah, because those buyers and sellers, let me tell you, they don't care what you're doing. They want to know what you're doing for them. So you've got to have somebody
Yes.
that can answer those on the phone, and it better be that agent.
Yeah, so let's just say it's a process, and you don't go from 1 to 10 overnight, but you might go from 1 to 1.5. You might start by hiring a part-time administrative assistant and a marketing assistant. And then you might go to 2.5, where you bring on a buyer's agent to help answer those questions. And the administrative assistant then steps up to full-time. It's a staged, stepped process. But if you want to go big fast, what you have to do is dramatically ramp up your lead generation efforts. And most agents do not have time for that. How many of you all have been on a listing appointment every night this week? Okay.
Talk to somebody every day.
Okay. So would it make a difference in your business if you had somebody setting 4 to 5 listing appointments for you every week? Or 4 to 5 listing appointments for you every day? Would that make a difference in your business? What I want to say is you don't have time to do that. Now, you have time to set 2 to 3 listing appointments a week. And if you don't have that, that's where you need to put your focus. Get 2 to 3 listing appointments a week. Get the cash flow going in your business. And then you pull some of that cash aside to reinvest in growing the business. Okay? We're going to talk a lot more about that in days ahead. In fact, I had this brainstorm this morning while sitting over at Burger King. I think one of the aspects of training that we're going to incorporate is going to be called Book Club. And I'm going to start advertising in advance writings by critical thinkers that I think have the ability to take our businesses to the next level, whether they're in real estate or not. I'll announce it in advance so you can get the book, read it, and then we'll come and I'll do a presentation of the most relevant points that I think there are to our business, and we can talk about what we have self-discovered in our own reading. So, and some of these books are likely to be the first ones we bring in. Okay, Predictable Revenue, I'm almost certain will be one of those, and 10 times. Okay. So what we have to do is to sharpen our conversion skills, because that's going to be our role in our business, whether we are a single proprietor right now, an individual agent, or whether we have a team of 3, 4, 5 people. We're probably still going to be in that conversion role until we finally are fully leveraged out and we step aside. That'll be the last thing that we give up in terms of personal involvement, is the conversion role. So let's put some focus on really mastering these skills. Now, just a quick overview, a reminder where conversion fits in. Our operational model starts with prospecting, goes to lead generation, moves to lead conversion, drops down into client servicing once we're in a relationship with a buyer or seller. Once we are, we can market that relationship, yard signs, just listed, just sold, etc., which generates additional leads, and that is the cycle of abundance in a real estate sales business right there. Prospect to generate leads, convert leads, service the clients, market the relationship. Rinse and repeat, okay, over and over and over. We can plug in help here in the prospecting to generate the leads, but here we are today in the conversion aspect with sellers. So we've used all types of different means of prospecting to generate new referral and repeat sellers. So now that we have a face-to-face conversation, and that's what the conversion aspect speaks to, what do you say when you're at the kitchen table? What do you do that separates you from the pack and causes those people to say, you know what? We don't need to talk to that Coldwell Banker agent or that Keller Williams agent because we're going to give you our business, Annie, because we have self-discovered that our needs are going to be met in a relationship with you. This class teaches that process right there. How to differentiate yourself from everyone else and win the confidence of your sellers. So the financial consequences, and let's look at this. These numbers are more realistic to me than ever before. I want you to see these consequences. If you commit to being an effective lead converter, of maximizing every at-bat to hit it out of the park, here's what can happen. When you get started, when you're in phase one, when you're just consistency, you're probably going to set one listing appointment a week. By the way, is that, the numbers here are 1 a week, 2 a week, 3 a week. Do you fall somewhere in that range? Or do we have a 0 or a 4 plus? Nod your head yes if 1, 2, or 3 would describe the average number of listing appointments you have in a week. Okay, all right, great. So what we're going to say is, first of all, just be consistent in setting listing appointments. If you set 1 a week and you work 45 weeks out of the year, not 52, that's 45 sets. If 70% of those appointments keep, because they don't always, sometimes they cancel, or sometimes you knock on the door and they're not there, that's 32 meetings a year. If you convert 50% of them into a relationship with you, you take the listing half the time, that's 16. If you only sell half of them, then that's 8 closings a year. Okay? Now, go with me to phase 2, efficiency. And let me explain the difference in these phases. How many of y'all have ever done P90X? Really? Did you do all 90 days?
No.
Okay. How'd you feel on day 3?
Felt okay.
Okay, all right. I'm on day 3.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very intensive, full body exercise program. I mean, everything from your eyelashes to your toenails gets a workout. And I have not been in a consistent exercise program in memory, and I've never done this type of program before. And so I get up at 4:45 every morning, which I've done, this is day 3 days in a row, and I go out in the garage and I spend 35 minutes doing this program. And they're doing all kinds of things. They're doing yoga moves and downward dogs, and they're working with weights and doing stuff. And I can't do any of it. So I'm doing modified versions, right? And I'm wobbling and falling over and catching. That's why I do it in the garage. I don't want anybody waking up and watching me, okay? But here's what I keep telling myself. The goal right now is not miracles. It's not magnificence. It's not to look beautiful or pretty. It is simply to show up every morning at 4:45 and do the program in whatever modified version I can. I am building the consistency habit in my life. And if I just do that, no matter how badly I do it, over time I'll get results. That's what we're saying in your business. Even if you're a bad listing converter at first, if you commit to mastery, just commit to practicing the dialogues, learning the strategy that we're going to teach you, getting better at it week after week, you will move from simply being consistent, which is all that's required up front, to ultimately being efficient. Now you're setting 2 appointments a week, that's 90 a year. The show-up rate is 80% because it was a stronger set. You conveyed more confidence to the sellers when you set the appointment. That's 72 meetings a year at a 67% conversion rate, because now you're more comfortable with the dialogues. You are exuding confidence, and the sellers are more often saying, you know what, we want to entrust the sale of our home to you. That's 48 listings at a 75% sale percentage, 36 closings a year. 36 closings stemming from 2 listing appointments set per week. Who cannot do that? And you know, but at 36 closings, average sale price $200,000, 6,000 times 36, that's about 200 grand, isn't it? It's a little over 200 grand a year. That would put you in the top 5% of realtors nationally, just from setting 2 a week. Now, if you go on to 3, that's 135 sets, drill all the way down, 104 closings per year. Wow, that's world class. That's top 1/10 of 1%. Okay? You can set, and that's everybody in this room, you can set 3 appointments a week. Okay? You can get yourself into that $300,000 or $400,000 range from 3 sets, but you will be overwhelmed by that point with the conversion, and you will need some help on the lead generation. Actually, you're going to need all kinds of help at that point. The whole message of this page is breakthrough success is not beyond your reach if you simply commit to mastering the fundamentals. Okay? So here's the know, do, have of the process that we're teaching. Again, it's the conversion aspect of your operational model. Who are we trying to convert? Sellers. What is the do of our know, do, have? It is the relationship-based listing method. What do we have to know to implement that method? Confirming dialogue, meeting 1, 2, and 3, message 1, 2, and 3 dialogue, and then closing dialogue. All of that's in your manual. You all have been to my classes, have heard me say this many times. What separates average agents from top producing agents? What is the primary difference? They know what to say. They know what to say. Yeah, it just flows from them, and that's why their buyers and sellers have confidence in them. So how do you know what to say? Well, you learn from those who've gone before, and that verbiage is in your manual. Okay, and this manual, I know you didn't bring it in because I did a switcheroony on you, but it is on the server. Okay, so what is the have? There are a few documents and tools that you need to have to implement this method, and all of them are found under supplemental materials in the back of your manual. Okay, it's all there, page 39. So basically this is an off-the-shelf program. If you'll just learn it, commit to it, you can become a master lead converter. Now, before we get into the weeds of the details, here are some core beliefs, because we've got to get our mind right if our behavior is going to be right. If we don't think right, we can't do right, because all behavior is an afterthought. What we do inevitably reflects what we believe. So if we want to do something different, we have to start with believing something different. So here's some of those core beliefs. There's no growth without discomfort. You know, it's no fun practicing scripts and dialogues. It's no fun doing your lead generation in the early startup phases of your business. Who likes calling FSBOs and expireds and geofarms? Who likes calling their friends and family for business purposes? Does anybody get excited about that? And yet it is the necessary task when you're launching a real estate sales career. Okay, there's no growth without discomfort. I live in a world of listing abundance, meaning I don't have to get every listing, and if a win-win relationship can't be created, I'm walking away. Okay, overpriced listings don't serve anybody. 3, success stems from duplicable processes and systems, and I'm going to share some of those systems with you this morning. It's win-win or no deal. In other words, I'm not going to win and the seller loses. The seller can't win and me lose, right? They win. If I give my commission away, I lose. That doesn't work. Has to be win-win. Meet both goals. Leverage is the key to abundance. That's what we were talking about a moment ago with building a team. If you really want to move to abundance where you have plenty of money and plenty of time to enjoy it, you're going to have to utilize the talents of other people. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. If somebody's beating you up on your commission, it's because they perceive your value to be the same as the agent down the street who's offered to discount. So you have to differentiate and establish the fact that you're bringing something to the table they're not. I'll not convert 100% of the leads I do not generate. So it does no good to work on conversion skills if I'm not generating leads, okay? And this is not the lead generation class, but just recognize you've got to give attention to both. It starts with prospecting to generate leads, and then this class has relevance. People will trust and follow what I can logically and tangibly explain. When I'm meeting with the seller and I'm telling them what an appropriate market price is, what homes are selling for in this neighborhood, I am talking about the value of my marketing program, I need to show them some tangible stuff to back that up. Otherwise, it's just yak, 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 and talk is cheap. So people will believe and follow what I can logically and tangibly touch, explain, what I can show them. It's unacceptable to leave the seller's money on the table. That's a core belief, because if they want to go in overpriced, which many sellers do, it's ultimately going to cost them. Their home is going to sell for less than it would have otherwise. Because once we start that momentum ball rolling downhill with price reductions, and this studies have shown this, they end up selling for less than market value.
And they made more payments on the house.
And they made more payments on the house, longer days on market. Yeah, the buyers smell blood in the water, desperate seller, and they're much more aggressive in their negotiating. So we want to communicate that to sellers up front. The way I can maximize the sale value of your home is to price it right the first time.
Since there's only a few of us in here, can I give you my overview
Your overview of?
Going on a listing appointment?
Well, I'm actually recording this because we have a number of agents who want to take this who haven't. Could we do that after class? We've hired several agents in the Woodlands lately, and I have told them, go to our YouTube channel and watch the listing conversion class. Or drive to Kingwood. And I had a couple pop up and say, I couldn't find it. So I said, well, let me just show you. It's so easy. And I went there, and it's not there. We don't have this class on YouTube. So that's why I set the camera up today, is to make up for that deficiency. Okay. So, but Pat, I'm very interested in your overview. Okay, a couple more. A home sell for two reasons: price and exposure. Internalize that. There's only two reasons that homes sell or don't sell: price and exposure. Condition is a function of price. The home in the worst condition will sell in 10 minutes if it's priced appropriately for that condition. Okay? Yeah, and think of other objections, because they'll all come back to it. Well, I've got an uncooperative seller. Okay? That's an exposure issue. They're not allowing showings on the home. They're being hard to get along with. Then the home is not being properly seen by the people who are qualified to purchase it. So it all will come down to price and exposure. The pricing game is all about justification. In other words, and you're going to see this in the dialogue. As the seller and the listing agent, you have to be able to justify your listing price to potential buyers and buyers' agents. If you can't justify it, what's happening to that price? It's negotiating down. So you have to be able to justify it. Pricing is neighborhood specific. Please don't ever do CMAs with a radius search or a zip code search. Do a neighborhood search. Unless it's some incredibly unique property that there's just the only thing like it's in Clear Lake or Katy, that's okay. But 99.9% of the properties that we sell are going to be like other properties in their neighborhood. And that's the only thing that would be comparable. 13, what's put in motion stays in motion. If we start taking price cuts on this home, we're likely to have to take more, either in MLS price reductions or in negotiations. And then finally, believe it or not, pricing homes is not an exact science. We ultimately can't account for the value of the paint color on the wall or that upgraded faucet, because simply there's not comparables for every single amenity in a home or for every state of condition in a home. I had this conversation with sellers last night in a listing conversation where we looked at the science first. We went through the comps, we went through the pricing conversation that we're going to talk about this morning, but then I had to say, ultimately there's some art along with the science. because there's not another home in this neighborhood on a cul-de-sac with a size lot that you have. And so we're guessing, it's an educated guess, an informed guess, but it is a guess about what value buyers are going to place on this oversized lot. So let's make our best guess, but then let's be prepared to adjust if the market tells us that we overshot the mark. Okay? So we can get pretty close, but there's always going to be an element of judgment, of subjectivity. Okay, the 7 vital listing responsibilities: lead generation, lead conversion, administrative preparation, marketing and exposure, presenting and negotiating, closing preparation, and post-closing activities. Your listing department has to deal with these 7 things. Now, you personally don't have to deal with all of them unless you are the only person in your listing department. But those are the big rocks, the big categories of issues that have to be addressed. Particularly if you're an individual agent, you have to be extremely efficient with your time. This is a system that tells you where your time is going to be spent. And if you'll build systems under each of these areas, then you move towards efficiency in your business. And we've helped you out a little bit with that, because on the next pages, you'll see the 47 vital listing activities under each one of these big areas of responsibility. So under lead generation, here's what you have to do: find sellers. If you're not holding 2 to 3 listing appointments a week, where do you think you need to be putting your efforts? Lead generation. You got to have somebody to talk to. Everything else flows from that. So prospecting to generate leads has to be job 1. Once you've done that, you move into lead conversion. So okay, so now I've got an appointment, right, for Thursday night. What do I do now? Well, here we go. You ask the pre-listing questions, assemble the pricing tools, confirm the appointment, prepare the listing agreement, get on the listing channel, arrive on time, have the listing conversation. There are the big rocks in that conversation, then sign the listing agreement. There you go. This is a system. And by the way, when you grow your team to the point that you're able to bring on a listing specialist onto your team, this is how you're going to train them. They're going to follow your system for converting leads, whether it's this one or another one or some hybrid version. A system is not a system unless it's written. And the simple definition of a system is a written checklist of how we do a certain thing, so that we can guarantee that we do it the same way every time. And whether it's me or you or you or you, we're all doing it the same way. And if you're on a team, you want that kind of consistency. So page 9 just continues the list of 47 vital activities all the way through the closing, and then page 10, post-closing activities. All right, so page 11. Let's get into the listing department basics. The mission of your listing department is to ensure that sellers who work with you make informed, intelligent listing decisions. And they are enabled to do that because of the conversation you have with them, where you educate them about pricing and exposure issues. What does that look like? It's attracting serious sellers into a relationship with you by taking an intentional and proactive approach to selling their home. In other words, you know what sells homes. When they hire you to sell their home, they will have a great deal of confidence their home is going to sell in the required amount of time for the required amount of money, because you know what causes homes to sell. So people are going to be attracted into a relationship with you. The model, the strategy is a relationship-based listing. Win-win. We're going to do this together, and we get really detailed on what that working relationship looks like. Okay? All right, I'm moving on to page 12 with a key idea that we teach, and that is we're going to have a conversation, not give a presentation. I think I have this little nugget of dialogue about 16 times a week in my business with agents. Typically when they first join our company, even if they're highly experienced, they'll say, hey, does RE/MAX have a listing presentation? And I love that, because it just tees up a conversation that I think establishes one of our key points of differentiation. As a matter of fact, we don't, because we don't believe in presentations. We believe in conversations. When we go out on a listing appointment, we focus on asking pertinent questions and listening for the answer. We don't go in and do a dog and pony show. Let me tell you how RE/MAX is wonderful. Let me tell you how my office is wonderful. Let me tell you how I'm wonderful. That's not what this is about. It's not a dog and pony show. It's not a throw a bunch of stuff on the wall and hope it impresses them. By the way, if you are in a competitive situation that they're interviewing multiple agents, that's exactly what they're getting from the other agents. That's how everybody teaches listing conversion, is through a presentational process. And if you just go in with a few key documents to tangibly support what you're going to say, and then you ask questions and listen, and then demonstrate in your follow-up responses that you know what causes homes to sell, you're going to get, the conversion rates that we looked at early on for consistency, efficiency, and proficiency, you're going to blow them all out of the water. A masterful lead converter will get 90% plus of all listings that if they get the appointment with the seller, they'll walk out with the listing 90% of the time. So very, very different from what most people teach. So the concept behind what we're trying to do is just have a conversation with sellers to see if a win-win relationship can be created. And when we're on the phone lead generating and we get pushback, well, I don't believe in realtors, you guys charge too much money, the last realtor didn't even hold an open house, we never even saw him after the home had been on the market 60 days. Hey, I understand. I've heard those stories myself. I just want to get together with you and have a conversation. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I'm not trying to sell my services on you. I'm not even telling you that I would be willing to list your home. I don't know if I would. I just want to have a conversation to see if we speak the same language. I want to have a conversation to see if we have the same goals. I want to have a conversation to see if a win-win relationship can be created. And if it can't, no harm, no foul. Okay? But let's just give ourselves an opportunity. That's a very attractive approach to most sellers, particularly those who have been burned in a prior relationship. So here are the 5 stages of the strategy that we teach. The pre-conversation activities, what you do before you get there. Message 1, message 2, and message 3, this is what happens when you're at the table. Okay, you're going to set the tone, you're going to do your GPS, goals, plans, and strategies to establish a direction for the relationship. You're going to cover mutual expectations. Here's what I expect of you. Here's what you can expect of me. And then post-conversation activities, and that really is a misnomer because you're still talking, you're still in the conversation, but you're going to cover objections, questions, concerns, and explain the listing agreement. Those are the 5 stages. That's the structure and flow. 1 of them happens before the conversation, and then 4 of them in the conversation. So here we go. Small hinges swing big doors. What you do before you show up makes a critical difference about the success of what happens when you do show up. So, somebody tell me, what are some of the 6 pre-conversation activities we just looked at on the previous slide? Anybody remember? Any of them?
Pre-listing questions.
That's right, ask the pre-listing questions. What else we're going to do before we show up?
Prepare the CMA.
Prepare our pricing tools, yep, which would include a CMA. We're going to arrive when? 15 minutes early?
Sometimes. Drive around with
Yes.
stuff that's already active.
Yes, I often, I had a listing conversation in Katy last night, and I had to get there from downtown. It took me nearly an hour and a half because of the time of day I was driving, and I still arrived about 15 minutes early. I had a little bit of wiggle room. So did I go up and ring the doorbell? No. Arrive at the door on time. So if you get there early, drive the neighborhood, see what's for sale, do what you have to do, return your phone calls, get on the listing channel, get your head where your body is, but don't ring the doorbell until it's time. I'm going to go back 1 page. Oops, can I do that? Here we go. Ask the pre-listing questions, assemble your pricing tools, confirm the appointment, prepare the listing agreement, get on the listing channel, get in the zone, and then arrive on time. Those are the 6 pre-conversation activities. Now, here is one of the tools that you're going to need. In the know, do, have, what do you have to have? The pre-listing questions. And Annie, you said it was on property time that you got that Woodlands lead. I would not ever take a property time appointment unless I had a blank copy of this with me.
I already asked him for that. I was very happy.
Yes.
Because they answered me like boom, boom, boom.
Yes. So here's what you need to ask. You know, their name, their address, their mailing address, if that's different. Find out if they're the sole owner of the home, and I realize yours was a buyer. That's a different deal. We've got a separate list of questions for buyers. But for sellers, all their contact information, will you need to buy another home, the type of house that you're selling, is it a townhome, a condo, is it single family, square feet, beds, baths, garage, condition, you're asking them to assess it, excellent, good, fair, or poor. How long have you owned the home? Have you made any updates or improvements? What prompted you to call me or to call our office if you're on property time? Very important question. Will you be interviewing other realtors? You ever ask that question, Pat?
Normally not.
Normally not. Why would we encourage you to do that? Why would you want to know?
Well, I'm going to work to my 100%.
Yes.
I'm going to go in thinking and knowing I'm going to get that listing.
Yes.
Because I'm going to be prepared.
Yeah. You might be a little better prepared if you knew you were in a competitive situation, but that's not why we ask the question.
Yeah, I
Because
don't care if
we want to be the first one.
That's why. It's a timing question. We want to find out if they're interviewing other realtors, and if they are, then we follow up with the next question, have you set those appointments yet? If they have, we want to be first in. First in. And why is that, by the way?
So you're the first in, last out?
First in, last out. If you're first in, you have the opportunity to knock out the others. They never even show up. The appointments are canceled. If you're the last one in, you have the opportunity to be knocked out. So that's why we ask, is so that we want to get in the proper position to have the best opportunity to get the listing. Sellers hate meeting with agents. Okay? Yeah.